Hello, everybody. It's Friday, Scarlett Says, and I have a guest today. And her name is Annie Gaudreault, and she is, I have to read a little bit here, she's an expert and nutritionist, practitioner. She specializes in working with women in midlife and beyond. So I'm kind of in that category, more like the beyond. And she is an expert to help women who are smart and successful. And if you are interested in being healthy and looking good, you are obviously very smart and successful. And she has actually done something I've never done and probably never will. And that she's done running marathons, plural, and 3 Ironman triathlons. So I don't know. She really does, as I say, practice what she preaches. She knows her stuff. She is a regular speaking on healthy aging. And so I'm very lucky to have Annie here to help us have healthy aging because we really, really need it. So welcome, Annie.
Thank you for having me, Scarlett.
How can you help women as we get older and our bodies sort of shift around a little bit? What advice do you have for us as we are changing?
Well, I think that the biggest message is that there's a lot that we can do. I think that if you were to just listen to the media and all those, advertising, et cetera, you would think that, oh, you know what, midlife has happened. Too bad. It's just going to deteriorate from there. And I think that the biggest message for today that I want to leave, our audience with is there is so much that we can do. It's not one size fits all, but there's a lot that us women can do.
Okay, what?
So, our needs do change, right? And the first thing is that we need to really mind our nutrition. That's kind of like your starting point, right? It's your foundation. It's the foundation of the house. You absolutely need a strong foundation in order to build. This has been, usually by the time we get to midlife, there's a lot going on professional front. There's a lot going on. If you had kids, they're leaving the house or they're coming back. There's a little bit going on, right? Sometimes there's a lot of pressure with elderly parents. And then finally, a little bit of time for yourself, even maybe, right? So there's all kinds of things. It leads to a lot of change. And anything that is a change, I usually call it it's really exciting, but it's messy in the middle. Yeah. So it's important to start to listen to what's going on with the body, because you and I could have, had been the same age and go through midlife very differently, right? So one of the big things is really to address nutrition and to really start to clean it up, because unfortunately, we are more now susceptible to what we call inflammation, right? When we eat things that are aggravating the body in one way or the other, whether it's digestion, whether it's something that we're a little bit intolerant to, but we go, oh yeah, but I still like a good croissant. I'm French, guilty as charged, right? And so you really need to start clean up the diet so that you are really focusing on whole foods. And we all know what that is, right? Good whole foods, simple, and then staying away from all of those fatty foods, processed foods, fried foods, the donuts of the world, because they fast forward the aging process, unfortunately. And I know that that's hard to hear. It's like, what? You can fast forward the aging process? Yes. Yeah. So really getting, in control of your diet first and foremost. That will help a lot, because it will help you control your estrogen levels. It will help you build a better, what we call a better gut. So therefore, your hormones are actually in a better situation. People don't realize that many of your feel-good hormones are actually manufactured in the gut. So if you're not eating well, you're not eating vegetables, you're not eating real food, you are not promoting basic good feel good hormones. So you
Right.
feel even worse. Right? You go, oh my God, what's happening? And now I feel like crap.
Yeah, I mean, guilty as charged. There's plenty of times where, I love things that are sweet, and so it's a
Mm.
wonderful feeling in the moment, but it's not a feeling that you hold on to because you start to feel crummy. So I'm curious. So if I had cookies in the house, okay, and I wanted to treat myself, which is how we think about having something like that, how do what could I grab instead of that cookie that could give me a feeling of some sort of satisfaction?
Yeah. Well, the first go-to is fruit. Fruit is also sweet, right? So having a little bit of fruit. And then the secret actually to manage that sugar level is actually to add a little protein to it. So let's say I'm going to grab a half an apple and cut into pieces. And then I would add a little bit of almond butter on top. So you get protein, which then really slows down the absorption of the sugar. And then you don't go through the big high and then, whoa, unfortunately, the big low that goes with it.
Right.
So that's the number one strategy. Now, the other thing too, and I know it sounds silly, but it's worth repeating is, it's really hard to not eat the things that are in the house. So I always say, first thing is, if you know that you can't resist it, and we all have those things. I love salt and vinegar chips. I just love them.
Really?
So, I'm no different than anybody else, right? I may be a nutritionist, but I still have my cravings.
I can say no to those, no problem, but I can't say
Oh,
no to good cookies from a European bakery.
yeah. See, we all have our things. So if you know that that's your little weak part, I do eat sometimes chips that are salt and vinegar, but I treat myself, and it's more of a rare occurrence that, because otherwise, if they're in the house, I'm going to eat them.
Yeah.
So you there's only so much motivation and strength that one has, right? So
So if you were to give, and if anybody has any questions now or when you're watching the replay, put it in and we'll get them to Annie. Um,
totally.
so okay, help us, help me. So if give me an example, if you don't mind, of like a small, because it's very hard to make a huge change right away. So what would be like one step towards making a change in your diet? Like that,
You
and
know what?
without getting a migraine because you're going through withdrawal.
Totally. So and I would say that sugar is a really really big addiction to get rid of. So it's like anything else. If you want to see improvement, start with small little steps, right? You were reading in a bio and you said, I don't want, I'll never probably do marathons like Annie. And, I used to coach women in running, and I took them off the couch to the finish line. And I would always say, I will get you there, but we're going to do this one step at a time and one day at a time. And we started with little steps. Right. So the thing is, don't try to change everything at the same time. Oh, I'm going to give up sugar. I will never drink wine again. There will be no more butter and croissants. And like, that's too much for one individual. Right. So pick one thing. And then, for example, I gave up sugar a long time ago, but I used to love it in my coffee. And then I started to just gradually decrease it. Right. So gradually decrease it, but very clear. My goal is to go to zero sugar in my coffee. And it's been years, I don't miss it. But at the beginning I was like, ooh, this feels different.
I
Right?
actually did do that, and because
Did you?
yeah, when I was little, my parents, they're from Europe, and so every morning for the special breakfast we would have, I would get like a tassa, a little cup of coffee, and then I would put like tons of sugar in it so I could actually drink it. And so
Mm-hmm.
so accustomed to it. But then as an adult, probably 10 years ago, I started slowly weaning myself off of it, and I'm fine,
That's right.
but I had to do it. We have a question here.
I see this.
Daryl's asking, and I always ask the same question different ways. What do you do when your partner, and I know so many people who fall into this category, when your partner insists on bringing things into the house that are unhealthy?
Oh, yes. And I deal with this, Daryl. Thank you. That is a great question. I deal with this all the time because often, and of course, as you said, I support women's health. So I get a lot of like, well, the family and the kids, oh, well, they want ice cream and I don't want to eat ice cream. So there's two ways to look at this. One is I often say, everything is a negotiation in life, right? So let's say chips, for example. You've heard me say that, right? The biggest impetus now is to choose something that you won't like. So you can say to your partner, you want chips? Fine. But I will make the concession that it cannot be salt and vinegar. Because if you bring barbecue chips, I don't like them. I had a client her weakness was ice cream. So she basically negotiated, you will not buy the flavor that I like, but go ahead and buy strawberry, buy caramel. I don't care for those.
Great.
She loves them. Right? So
yeah,
you're not completely telling others you cannot have any treats, and everybody's going to have to make compromises because I am trying to adopt a better, healthier diet. Right. So that's a really good way to make that easier.
That's a great tip because you're removing the temptation.
Yes, that's right.
And my dear Daryl has, hold on, and he has a follow-up. How do you keep your kids from bringing candy that you love?
Oh,
I say just change the locks on the house, but that's probably not appropriate.
I know. And my mother used to lock the door. And my mother used to lock the door, and she'd be like, "Don't come back until this and this has happened." I don't think today that is politically correct. You can't do this anymore, right? So again, I would say it's a negotiation, right? You're still the parent. The kids want candy, so establish. Okay, so you want candy in the house? Well, first of all, it's going to be maybe it's in a locked cupboard. Maybe it's in a special little bin, right? And it's reserved only for Saturday, Sunday. You start to make some rules where we're all in this together, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes a common decision. And you're basically saying this is, just like you would not go and have ice cream in the morning, right? Everybody agrees. Well, why is that? Yes, because over time you told your kids every day, no, we don't have dessert for breakfast. Breakfast is toast or porridge or whatever, eggs, right? So do the same with candies. Start to establish what are the parameters in the house that are going to be okay, but put some rules to it. Absolutely. It will take some time, right? Everything takes time to adjust, but everybody, I promise you, will get on board.
Right. Daryl loved, like I did, your explanation, your solution really of, yeah, sure. You want to have ice cream, then make sure it's whatever flavor it is you don't like, because then you're not going to be hungry. Like, I will never eat barbecue chips and I will never eat salt and vinegar because it's just too much for me. But don't put a bag of plain chips in the house, because then, as my husband recently did, because then I'm not happy.
Exactly.
So I get that. So Daryl, you got your answer.
Exactly.
So it's like 2:14 in the afternoon, my time, and
yes.
I might have a cup of coffee after this because I want a little pick me up. But it's probably not the right thing to do. Like, what do you suggest for a woman? Like, here we are, we're working from home. My day does not stop at 5 o'clock. I'm still on the computer doing things for clients. So, this is when I get the most tempted to do the wrong thing.
Oh, yeah. This is a devil hour, right?
Yeah,
it's
when the children were little, then it was really bad because then it was the homework and then they need something, and then it was, and you have to try to make dinner. It was always late afternoons stink. So what do you suggest I could reach for? I mean, like yogurt and fruit if I don't do peanut butter. I mean, what else could I do to not get that down feeling late?
Yeah, great question, because I think a lot of us experience that. So two different streams here. So instead of coffee, I always recommend green tea. And because green tea actually provides alertness, which of course coffee does, without the jitters. And coffee can be hard on the liver, as we all know, and that's why we stay awake for hours. But green tea actually detoxes your liver. So you're doing some, you're cleaning up. You're cleaning up the system while you're also, being alert. So I love green tea for that. Plus, it has all kinds of other wonderful things going for it. But if you don't like that idea, or if you want more, one of the suggestions is to always have a snack that has protein in it and a little bit of carbs. So we talked about yogurt, right? So make sure that it's not fat-free yogurt. We want to be able to have actually good absorption of your calcium, especially with, I deal with women all the time. We want the vitamin D to be absorbed. You need fat to have all those nutrients absorbed.
Oh.
So a little 2%, right? Not 10, not nothing like those big Mediterranean yogurt. And then you can choose a nice little Greek yogurt style, right? Plain. That way you're not getting all that extra sugar. And then I say to clients, add a little peanut butter on there, almond butter. You could have a spoonful of flax if you wanted.
Is granola good, like nuts and oats, or?
Yes, if you know that it's not too sweetened. The commercial brands, unfortunately, are very sweetened. So I usually try to stay away from them.
I started making my own, actually, to try.
Yes, I do too. Isn't that great? Oh, so much better. So much
really good.
Yes. So that would be a perfect snack. And because protein and fats digest very slowly compared to pure carbs. So if I eat a salad, but there's no protein in it, you know how you're hungry an hour and a half later. Right. That's why. So you want to make sure that your snack has a little bit of protein and some good fat, and you will be full until dinner time. You won't be falling into the cookies, even if they're beautiful European cookies.
The good news is there aren't a lot of really good European bakeries.
There you go. But that is a sure way to stay away from, I'm going to eat half of the fridge.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's good. I'm going to put in, let me enter this here. Annie has this great flame out to fabulous. So my afternoon dump is my flame out. And I help women look fabulous. So why not feel fabulous too? So get her tips for men and women because we all need to feel better and be healthier. And also, it's funny. Your tips are to look and feel younger. And I've in the past, I've also had tips on how to look and feel younger because now I have them to look thinner because no woman ever says, I want to feel old and look old.
Yeah. Please make me look old and bigger.
Nobody says that. No guy, no woman. So, anything, and your tips were really, really, really helpful. And I think I've been buying, no fat, plain yogurt. So I'll happily, add the fat because it tastes better anyway. So, but I'm going to take some of your advice here and do a little better because it's not, I never really feel, you always get that high, as you know, and then boom, that big down. And at this time of year, especially with it's still dark and it's so cloudy and cold, I don't want to feel that way. Right. So,
yes. And the reality is that if you eat properly, right, with some principles, easy, you're not going to go through those big ups and downs. You are going to feel good pretty consistently throughout the day. So I'm glad that you asked that question. I think that was bang on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, really good. Well, Annie, thank you so much. And again, anybody wants to put in a comment or a question later on, I will make sure Annie sees it and you'll get your answer from her. And I want to thank you all for being here and have a great weekend. Please stay warm and eat better than I have been eating, please. Take Annie's advice. And thank you, guys. Thank you, Annie.
My pleasure, Scarlett.
Bye.